Hello, this is Cathy Cassidy. I'm here to read you chapter 7 of Angel Cake. I hope you're enjoying the story so far, and if you remember, in the last chapter, Anya and Frankie had made their way to the new cafe called Heaven for free cake, and there they bump into Kurt, and then not so good, they bump into Lily Caldwell. So we're going to find out in this chapter what happens next. And the picture at the top of the chapter is Kurt's rucksack with a little picture of Cheesy poking his nose out of the top. So here we go. "This sucks," Lily says, looking around the table with a sneer. "What are you losers doing here?" "Nice to see you too, Lily," Frankie says. Lily just curls her lip. "Dan said the vouchers were for special customers," she huffs. "What makes you all so special?" "Our wit, our charm, our sparkling good looks," Kurt quips, selecting a slice of cream sponge from the tiered cake plate. "Oh yeah, and we're willing to put up with you." "Or not," Frankie mutters under her breath. "Don't kid yourselves that I want to sit with you, no hope," as Lily snarls. "I'm only here for free cake. Dan said he'd come and join me once he managed to ditch those flyers and cupcakes. Hopefully you lot will have gone by then." My shoulders slump. Dan Carney may have given me a cupcake, an umbrella, and a look that turned my insides to mush, but he definitely didn't make a date for later. I guess that Lily, with her sparkly eyeshadow and her acid tongue, is much more his type. Anybody would be more his type, really, than me. Silent, drenched and miserable is not a look that many boys go for. "Pity this place doesn't do wholemeal options," Kurt is saying. "Sugar and cream and white flour are not good for you. What this area needs is a really good whole food cafe. You can do amazing things with seeds and walnuts and chopped dates." "Get a life, freak," Lily snaps, her eyes skimming over Kurt's lank hair, his skinny shoulders and the sagging school sweater that looks like it came from a jumble sale. "Who wants stodgy old cakes stuffed with nuts and seeds and dried fruit?" Lily's description sounds a lot like the cakes my mum used to make at the bakery in Krakow, and they were really popular. I'm not about to argue though. "This cream sponge may not be the healthiest cake on the planet," Frankie tells Kurt, "but it looks like the tastiest. Go on, one slice won't hurt." Lily snorts. "That's a laugh. You're the last person who needs free cake, Francis McGee," she says. "There must be like 1,000,000 calories in this stuff. You'll be the size of a whale." "Oh, I forgot. You already are." I watch Frankie's cheeks flare crimson, and I wish I had the courage to slap Lily Caldwell. Frankie's words, "poisonous little witch," spring to mind. If nothing else, Lily is expanding my English vocabulary. It's a pity I don't have a rat in my satchel to shut her up with this time, but Kurt comes to the rescue instead. "Just leave it, Lily, okay?" he says. "What?" she asks, raising an eyebrow. "Leave what? I was just saying, as a friend." But Kurt stares her down, and she shrugs, takes a meringue and bites into it. And slowly the sharpness dissolves from her face and she smiles, a soft, sweet smile. I blink, looking around the table. Kurt sighs and closes his eyes as he bites into his cream sponge. I don't think he's worrying too much about walnuts and chopped dates now. Frankie hesitates over her slice of chocolate cake, then caves in and tastes it. Her eyes widen and her lips form a little O of pure delight. "What the heck do they put in this stuff?" Frankie whispers. "I never tasted anything like it. Awesome." Kurt sighs. "No wonder they call this place Heaven." "I suppose Dan did us all a favour," Lily says grudgingly. "Not just with the free cake either. His stunt with the flaming exercise book was cool. It got us out of morning lessons after all." Her face darkens as she frowns at Frankie and me. "And then I got out of afternoon lessons as well, thanks to you two, and whichever moron stole the flea-bitten rat from the biology lab." "Oh," Kurt says, all innocence. "Didn't you hear? Someone nicked Mr. Critchley's rat while the fire alarm was ringing, Lily explains. Probably some animal rights nut who thought it was still legal to experiment on animals. It is still legal, Kurt points out. Not in schools. The head said that rat was Mr. Critchley's pet, Frankie says. Maybe, Kurt shrugs, maybe not. I don't trust him. He used to keep rats in the lab and kill them so the kids could dissect them, just to show stupid random stuff, like how long a rat's intestine is. Yucks, Frankie says. That's like something from the Dark Ages. It wasn't so long ago, Kurt says. My dad went to St. Peter and Paul's back in the 90s, and Mr. Critchley taught him. Dad got excluded for 3 days once for refusing to cut up a rat. Lily pulls a face. Don't tell me, she says. I bet your dad's some sado hippie loser just like you. Kurt blinks. My dad's dead, he says quietly. He and my mum were killed in a car crash when I was 3. A shiver runs down my spine and my cake fork drops onto the tabletop with a clatter. Lily is mortified. I'm sorry, she whispers, her face pale. I didn't know, Kurt, honest. Oh, Kurt, Frankie echoes, that's just so sad. He shrugs. I was only a toddler, he explains. I don't remember much about them, but I live with my gran and she tells me stories of all the things Dad used to do. I couldn't believe it when I heard the rat story. I never did like Mr. Critchley, but knowing that he got my dad excluded like that. The loser, Lily says angrily. She has changed sides instantly. I've always said Critchley's a creep. Andy still keeps a rat in his classroom, Frankie breathes. What a sicko. I guess my dad might have been a bit like me, Kurt is saying. He might have been the sort of person who stood up for what he believed in. And, well, Lily's mouth drops open. It was you, she gasps. You stole Mr. Critchley's rat. Kurt smiles. I prefer to think of it as a rescue, he says. But what? Where? Don't worry, Lily, Kurt assures her. That rat is in a safe place now. I'm glad Lily is sitting on the other side of the table because that means she can't see the twitching pink nose that pokes briefly out from Kirk's rucksack and then disappears again. Hang on, Lily argues. Where exactly? I chew my lip. If Lily spots the rat, things could get very nasty. A repeat performance of the canteen rat riots is not what we need. Luckily, at that moment, the steamed-up cafe door swings open and Dan Carney comes in, his black hair plastered to his head, wings dripping. Dan, Lily yells, over here, I've been saving you a seat. Dan picks his way through the crowded cafe. Hey, he says, you wouldn't think it could be so hard to give away free cake. You should have ditched them into the nearest bin, Lily says. Dan frowns. No, I wanted to do it properly, he says. Move up, Frankie, hey? Frankie shuffles along into the seat beside Lily and Dan flops down next to me with a wink. Lily's smile has turned upside down, but my heart just about flips over. I handed one out to a woman whose umbrella had blown inside out, Dan is saying. Then there were 2 little kids in wellies and a guy selling the big issue on the corner. I gave him 3. Dan hangs up the dripping angel wings on the back of his chair, grinning, and I find myself grinning right back. He shrugs off his wet jacket to reveal a T-shirt with heaven printed across the chest, and that is kind of appropriate right now because I think maybe I've died and gone there. Being invisible is dangerous, obviously, because once you start to materialise again, you feel pretty grateful to anyone who happens to notice you're alive. That's all it is, I tell myself. It's not like I'm falling for a boy who tears up exercise books and sets fire to his desk. Even I can see that that would be a very bad idea. So that's the end of chapter 7. You're going to have to tune in tomorrow to see what happens next. And yeah, things are going to get even more interesting. So I hope you will tune in. Until then, please stay safe. Do something lovely for a friend or for someone in your family just unexpectedly. and try to remember always to be kind. Yeah, keep smiling, and I'll see you tomorrow.